hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to another MTG Live, where I am your resource, Dr. John Eves. This is my lovely wife,
Dr. Jackie Eves.
So we are so excited to bring you another segment of Moving Towards Greater Mondays. All right,
we do this Monday.
MTG Mondays, where we do this every third Monday. So we're so excited that you guys are tuned in on tonight. And we got some great things that we want to discuss tonight. We want to bring you guys a little bit closer as we, huddle and talk about some things, maybe get a few things off our chest. Maybe, our main topic tonight is going to be that of financial literacy. Financial literacy is very important. It's a very important subject that we all need to be more acquainted, more familiar with. So again, we just want to invite you into the group, invite you into the inner circle, take your time, participate, maybe take some notes, figure out how you can, pivot your position in life and move towards greater. But before I do that, Dr. Jackie and I, as you guys are viewing this, just celebrated 29 years of marriage.
Years.
All right. 29 years. Still in love with this beautiful lady. 29 years. Seem like it flies by just like that. It doesn't really take long. And that's why planning is very important. What's been some of your big takeaways over the past 29 years?
I guess for me, it's been the growth.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were planning to get married, my parents had this book. I can't remember the name of the book, but they had it laying around the house from a marriage conference that they had attended. Mm. And we kind of took that and kind of worked through that as our own like premarital counseling before the premarital counseling. Yep. And a big part of that was dealing with finances.
Yes, I remember
that.
Back
then we didn't have much, so it wasn't a big deal. But as we grew, we knew the importance of having a good financial foundation because back then, the statistics, I'm not sure what it is now, but 50% of marriages end in divorce, and finances were a big part of that,
right? Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny that finances back then was just saving $200 or $300, in case you needed a new tire, or something like that, right? But no, I would say for me, one of my biggest takeaways, and this is for the fellas. If y'all are tuned in, if y'all are listening. One of my biggest takeaways in 29 years of marital bliss would be, it ain't about you. Don't nobody care about your feelings, bro. Forget your feelings, whatever you got going on. Don't nobody care about your feelings, man.
Wait a minute now.
I'm just saying from a bigger picture standpoint, as the husband, as the provider, and times have changed. It's not that sole breadwinner, sole provider thing anymore. But for me, it just came down to it's not about all that you want right now. It's about sacrifice. It's about compromise. Sure. It's about seeing the bigger picture.
I like that.
That's what I meant by forget
because
your feelings.
Do care. We do care, and I know that
a little bit.
You make sacrifices a lot.
All right. They do care. They do.
We care, and it's give and take. It's like there are seasons, and we're going to talk about this next month probably.
Okay.
For at least tea time. There are seasons in life where you are making, it seems like constant sacrifices.
Oh yeah.
And especially as the kids grow and get older, and there are seasons where it may seem like it really isn't about you, but know that you're the apple of God's eye, and you are the apple of my eye.
Yeah. And that's what, the Bible says, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing. See how she took, my messed up statement and she cleaned it up and she fixed it up? That's the way it's been with our marriage, right?
Likewise, right?
So, when things have, when you overstep, where you said something you probably shouldn't say, your wife or your spouse just have this unique and this awesome way of going in and say, what he really meant to say was...
Right.
And that's awesome.
I respect your thought. You know what I mean? And I get it. I understand that sometimes you may feel like you aren't getting the time and attention that you deserve.
I did not say that, but but at the same time, so what I said was, it's not about you all the time. It's not about your feelings. Even though we do have feelings, we were having a conversation today about emotions, right? How people can get so into their emotions where they miss the bigger picture. And God gave us emotions for a reason.
Absolutely.
We have to guard our hearts. We have to, guard our minds. We have to be, discerning. Wise as serpents, humble as doves. All of that. But at the same time, we cannot let our emotions get the best of us, which leads us into financial literacy.
Yes, and April is Financial Literacy Month.
Come on now.
I want to give a shout out to our sister Jada,
Yeah.
who actually
sister-in-law. Yeah, I love it.
Sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Who gave us a really good link to some information, and we'll post that on the website.
Absolutely.
movingtowardsgreater.com. Just a wealth of resources relating to financial literacy. So it caused me to step back and to do a little research on financial literacy.
Yeah.
And it officially became Financial Literacy Month in 2003.
Okay.
And the goal was just to raise awareness and to build competency and confidence as it relates to finances. And I love getting origin stories. But in 2003, they wanted to start early with the youth to get a basic understanding about money and how it works, and to also increase savings. So the origin dates back to 1737.
All right.
All right. And there was informal advice,
way back. Yep.
informal advice that was posted on financial literacy when Benjamin Franklin wrote this article called Hints for Those That Would Be Rich. I like that. I may have to go find that article. But in this article, for the first time, it's noted as offering advice about money, but also he coined that phrase or the quote, "A penny saved is a penny earned."
Right.
And have you heard that before?
I have
A penny
heard that
saved
before,
is a penny
yes.
earned. So that was first noted in this article back in the 1700s. So since then, they've impacted a couple of acts and laws just to help increase awareness about finances. And it really came back into focus in like home economics classes.
Y'all remember home ec?
Home ec, yeah. I learned how to make biscuits and other things. But guess what? The idea behind that was saving money by cooking as opposed to eating out.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So
How relevant is that even today?
even today, cut out the DoorDash, save some money. All right. But it also was more structured as we continued to go throughout the years. And now we have this thing called financial literacy.
There we go.
And it's now a global focus, and it's really about financial education. And even in my current occupation, we see the value in that. A lot of our young people are working for the first time.
Yes.
So we have really worked with grantors and other entities to help increase awareness about finances for those that are entering the workforce for the first time, and just making sure they have a good financial foundation so that that check doesn't go towards the tennis shoes and the and
I love that. And I love that. I was going to jump right in, because what I love about that program that you guys are doing for the city is that it's not just come get a job, here's your check, now go somewhere, go off. No, it's actually there's some training, there's some instruction, there's some wisdom on once you get paid, here are some suggestions, here are some ideas, some referrals on how you need to manage your money. Absolutely. Because you're absolutely right. How many of you remember your first paycheck? The first time you ever got paid, or the first few times you got paid, you just wanted to go out and buy any and everything that you wanted, the things that were on the wish list, those shoes you had been looking at, the clothing, the jacket, whatever it was, now I got some money in my pocket, I'm going to get that.
Right.
But how critical or how important would it have been if someone would have set you down beforehand and said, hey, here are some ways to manage your money, right? We see it even a lot now in professional sports. In the National Football League, they have financial managers and planners that come in to give a finance classes to a lot of the rookies. Now imagine that level. You're a rookie, 20 years old out of college, and you just got a $30 million contract.
Big money.
And you can go out and do, not just get that jacket or not just get those shoes, but you can go out and really wreak havoc on the economy
Right.
with that kind of money, right? So the idea that, you know, even these big corporations, and the NFL is a big corporation, that they are seeing that it is beneficial to bring someone in to talk about financial literacy, right? So, and here's what I'm a strong proponent of. If the NFL, the NBA, professional sports are bringing people in to teach financial management, financial literacy, why aren't we doing it in our homes, or why aren't we doing it in our communities, in the you know in the job programs, you know, youth programs? Real quick story. One of the things that Dr. Jackie and I decided to do was to set our son, you know, aside, you know, set him down at 11, 12 years old to begin to teach him how important it is to manage money. You say, so hey, if I give you $30, you know, let's take five of those of that $30, or let's take a fraction of that and let's invest it. So what we did was we got him. Well, the app is in my name, but through his little online, you know, account, you know, we're able to draw, you know, funds every month into a ETF, and we're going to talk about ETFs here in a little bit during this segment, because I want you guys to be able to see the power of consistently contributing to an investment plan and what it can do for your financial literacy and what it can do for your life.
And I love that, starting early with him, you know, just so that he can start to develop those good finances. And I chuckle because we still have hiccups here and there as it relates to just his allowance, and he does get an allowance. And just, it's just a great opportunity to teach with a you know, a small safe amount of money where you know, he may make a bad decision, but now you have to adjust your life, and the same is true for adults. You know, you may go out and overspend. I know no one watching does that, but you have to make adjustments for the rest of the month or until you get that next
Exactly.
paycheck.
We just had this conversation. So what is the probability of, you know, if you get an allowance and you deplete the entire allowance in a matter of the first 3 days of the month? I'm like, dude, you got a whole lot of month to go with basically nothing, right? So, but how many people are doing that on their jobs? How many, we talk about, paycheck to paycheck, and believe me, there is no one out here in America that's working, 40 hours, part-time job, or whatever, that, endeavors to live paycheck to paycheck. But it's because of the obligation. It's because of the high cost of goods. It's because, what rent and housing costs, that, the money that we're making on jobs does not seem to be enough to cover all these other obligations. And then let's not even think about, if you want a new phone or a new pair of shoes, or if you want to go and splurge, for a weekend, what does that look like in terms to how the rest of your finances are going to shape out?
That's so true. Yeah.
So,
not to mention tariffs and a war. So
exactly.
there are some things that are within our control, but there are a lot of things that aren't.
Come on. We know good and well that if gas has gone up by 30 or 40%, guess what? You're still driving the same amount of miles every week, if not more. Because guess what? Now we're getting into the summertime. So, people are going to want to take trips, go visit families, go to family reunions, get that T-shirt. We're going to want to do all that stuff, but gas is 30% higher right now.
And the beef, too, is still kind of high.
Come on, make it make sense.
So again,
about to start eating some lettuce.
The inflation, that's about to go up, too, with our farmers. So there are... And I just want to say this before we move on. As a people, we are resilient and resourceful.
Yes, we are.
So it's like, I think we can adjust, but with knowledge, and this is where we take it to the next level, and I'm excited about this next segment. Practical application, but we need the knowledge to know how to move in this economy and how to benefit from the current administration. So, all right.
How to benefit from the current, girl, you said something there. How to benefit from the current administration. You guys know that we like to plug in the Word of God whenever we're looking at financial matters, we're looking at life matters. So the scripture that, comes to mind today And we were talking about this briefly a little bit earlier, and it is so appropriate. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. Verse 5 says, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. Verse 5 says, get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. How, everybody's familiar with that scripture. We've heard that scripture, throughout our lives. But when we take that scripture and we insert it into where we are today, when it comes to understanding financial literacy, when it comes to understanding, how to deal with emotions, we talked about that. When it comes to understanding how we deal with relationships, this scripture is very appropriate for all that, because Solomon is telling us, the writer of Proverbs, he's telling us to get wisdom. But in your wisdom, there is wisdom all around us. There are books, there are websites, there are social media sites, there are databases. There's wisdom all over us, all over the place. But in that wisdom, we have to learn how to understand what we're accessing. Mm-hmm. All right. So it's one thing to have wisdom, and a lot of times, people just gain wisdom and experience just through longevity. Mm-hmm. Just for, as we get older, and we have successfully navigated, where, you didn't die in your teens, you made right and conscious decisions to make it through your 20s and your 30s, and, now you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. You have seen a lot and you have gained a lot of wisdom. Right. But also, let's translate that wisdom into, okay, well, what does it mean in terms of understanding? Because there are a lot of people that have lived a long time that don't really understand a lot of things.
That's true.
And that's why we have moving towards greater. Because no matter what age you are, or what cycle or what season you in your life, for one that you tuned in shows that you have a degree of wisdom.
That's right.
And then the next part is, okay, not only am I obtaining wisdom, but I want to get to the point where I got understanding. That's now. Right. Okay, how do I begin to, apply financial literacy? Mm-hmm. What is an ETF? Right. How can an ETF shift some things in my life? How can I change the way that I think about certain spending habits and certain ideas and transform that to where it's to my good, right? We were joking on the last couple of weeks about the astronauts from the Artemis team that went into outer space. Well, I ain't gonna say outer space. They went into space. They went around the moon, and they came back, right? And we look at that, but the main thing that they said from the beginning was that these were some stepping stones. Mm-hmm. The first step was to have this mission to go, around the moon and to come back. But then they eventually want to go back to the moon. Mm-hmm. All right. So, but they are taking it in these small little pieces. Right. So, so when we think about it, what can we do in our lives to, take things in smaller pieces in order to get better wisdom, get better understanding, so it can benefit us in the long run. How powerful is that?
And I'm the visual one, so I love the idea of stepping stones. So tuning in today is one step in the process. Right. So now you're gonna get a little bit of wisdom, and then that has to translate to some applied understanding, right? Yep. So you got to understand what we're saying. Exactly. And that comes, and I'm sure you're going to get into this. I don't want to get ahead, but I love the idea of stepping stones. So look at this as a progression towards your desired outcome.
I love it. And one thing I always want to plug is, as your resource, I want you guys to be able to understand that it's okay if you get to a place where you feel like you're stuck. It's like, I hear these terms, financial literacy, ETFs, I hear these terms, but I really don't know how to apply that. Right. I really don't know what that means. So I want to give you guys another plug. We mentioned it last month about going to our website. You want to give them that information where they can go to the website?
Yes. Just go to www.movingtowardsgreater.com to complete the needs assessment. From that, it allows you to just take some time to reflect on your current situation, all areas of your life. And from there, we can set up a time for a one-on-one consultation. We've had a couple of those already. I think they've been very beneficial.
Yep.
And at some point, we look forward to having some guests to share their journey, because everyone's at different ages and stages in life and on different paths.
Yes.
However, with this applied knowledge, the information that you're receiving here, you can move towards greater, and greater is whatever you want it to be. It's really up to you.
And I kind of want to give a couple of highlights without getting into the people that we talked to, their specific business or whatever. I kind of want to give a couple of highlights and a couple of themes that we've kind of uncovered in some of our conversations with these one-on-ones. One is generational wealth. Okay, generational wealth is something that people talk about a lot, but a lot of people don't really have an understanding on how to achieve that. And then when you look at generational wealth, there's also a component of, let's just say, I can take myself as a real estate investor and owning property. I saw the value of owning property, but what if the generation behind me does not see the value of purchasing property or owning property or maintaining it? How do you have that conversation?
Right.
All right. So that's one that's one highlight we've kind of uncovered. Another highlight is home ownership. Right. Home ownership is, and I guess it depends on what season we're in terms of the economy, because some seasons, it's like, oh, it's a buyer's market. Everyone is buying. You need to get a house, or the season could be flipped. Interest rates are high. I don't know why anybody would want to buy a house right now. It just don't make sense. But, again, those are seasonal aspects. When you look at home ownership over the course of 5, 10, 20, 30-year period, statistics show that owning a home is one of those assets that help put your generational wealth into overdrive.
For sure.
So if you have a home, and we're going to talk about that, if you the path to acquiring a home, if you have a home, or if you have several homes, a primary home and some real estate property, right? Investment property. What does that mean in terms of being able to tap equity from your home to start a business, to buy additional assets, to buy stock, to buy additional rental properties? It's a lot easier to do that if you've got an asset that's working for you, that's throwing off cash, and that way you can do that, than going to a job trying to say, I need to save $30,000 for a down payment. Right. It's a lot easier to do that if you got an asset that's, kind of helping you do that.
So good.
Did I miss anything in that?
No, I know you got a lot more to cover. So.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you want to talk about in terms of Financial Literacy Month before I get into some actual?
No, it's just good. It's taking place more now on a global level, and really just looking at ways to educate starting young.
Yes.
So there's lots happening in schools and in communities.
All right, good deal. All right, so let's go ahead and transition. Let's go ahead and do that little pivot that we talk about all the time. We're going to pivot, and the first thing I want to talk about is, we say it a lot, and I just want to make sure that you guys have a good understanding, a foundational understanding on what an ETF is. All right, because I can get to the point where I can say it like almost every day in my conversation with someone, and I just take it for granted that people understand what that really means. But when you hear CSNBC or on the news or CNN or whatever, when you hear them saying, or ETFs are going up, what that actually stands for is Exchange Traded Fund, ETF, and it's an exchange traded fund. In other words, it is a type of investment that pools money from many investors into a basket. So think of an ETF as a basket. It's a basket of securities such as stocks. It could be bonds. It could be commodities. When I say securities, that's like companies. That's like Nike, Microsoft, Walmart, Cisco, Exxon, all these are companies that represents different segments of the economy. Nike is retail, Exxon, that's energy, right? From the gas companies and everything. All right, Wells Fargo, that's a bank, that's a financial company. So what an ETF does is it will take a bunch of companies from the same sector. So let's just say the sector is energy. There's a ETF that I invest in called XLE. That's the symbol. And what it does is that ETF invests in energy companies, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Valero. I don't think Texaco's still out there, but what that ETF does is it invests in a lot of oil and energy companies. Now think about it for a minute. Why would it be beneficial to invest in that kind of ETF right now, energy? Why would it be beneficial to invest in an energy ETF right now? Well, what is the economy doing? We're at war with Iran. And all you got to do is look on the news, and every day they're talking about what the price of oil is, right? And as I look at it right now, I think the price of oil is around $91 a barrel. It has gone up over $100 a barrel, right? So what an ETF does, it invests in nothing but oil and energy companies. So as the price of oil goes up, guess what? Your ETF goes up. The thing about ETFs is they are traded like stocks, right? So like that, another ETF that I like to use a lot, or I quote a lot, is QQQ. All right, let's look at that for a minute. Matter of fact, that is the same. Remember, I mentioned the every month for my son's portfolio, we invest part of his allowance into an ETF. Well, the ETF that we use for his investment is QQQ. So you might say, well, what's the deal with QQQ? Well, let me tell you. QQQ is a technology ETF, and let me just name some of its top holdings. Remember, I said an ETF is a basket. Mm-hmm. So in this particular instance, QQQ is the main symbol, and it holds a basket of different companies. What are those companies? The first and the biggest one is NVIDIA. All right. So if you don't know who NVIDIA is, NVDA, go and look them up. All right. They are the premier driver right now in when it comes to chips and artificial intelligence. All right. The next one is Apple. All right. Anybody ever heard of Apple? Anybody know what Apple? Is anyone holding a device right now, or a MacBook or something that Apple produces? Apple is all over our economy. Okay. The next one is Microsoft. The next one is Amazon. Anyone heard of Amazon? Anybody get an Amazon order this week? The next one, some people might not be a fan of, is Tesla. All right. Whether you like who runs Tesla or not, they are on the cutting edge of AI, robotics, auto taxis, when it comes to cars and whatnot. The next one is Meta. Has anyone ever heard of Meta? Mm-hmm. Anyone ever heard of Instagram or Facebook? All right. How about Walmart? How about Google? How about Broadcom? All right. So the QQQ symbol, that exchange traded fund, it basically takes the money from its investments and it distributes it into these particular companies. That's only 10%. That's only their top 10 holdings. That's only 50% of their investments. They invest in a lot of other companies too, but those are basically their primary muscle movers. All right. So what do I like about QQQ? Well, the one thing I like about it is the returns, right? So if you look at the returns of QQQ over the past 5 years, QQQ has had a return of, I believe, over 88%. Make sure I'm saying that right. Yep, 86.8%. 86.8% over a 5-year period, right? Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to give you some practical examples on what that could look like. All right. So one thing I want you guys to be able to do, I'm gonna give you a resource. The resource is investor.gov, investor.gov. It is a website that is administered by the government, the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission. And what this is, it is a compound interest calculator. Okay, so you can actually go in and calculate, different returns, and kind of understand, if you invest for a certain period of time, what that return might be. And you know what? And I had it already populated, but I guess it kind of went away. But let's do this right here. Think about something that probably a great majority of people that are watching this this podcast now are actively doing, and that's buying a car or financing a car. All right. A lot of people, when it comes to transportation is one of those necessary things that we need in order to be able to go to work, to be able to, go to church, be able to, take care of things that, go to the store, get everything that we need, right? So a lot of us consider transportation as a necessity, right? Did you all know that the average car note in America right now is somewhere around $700 a month? And we were talking earlier, and it used to be that you finance cars for like 60 months, 5 years, but now there are financing options that go out to 84 months for new cars. I was in I'm gonna go ahead and say their name because I invest in this company also. I was in Costco the other day. And in Costco, you know how some places have the cars on display that are for sale or whatever. Well, they had a 2026 Infiniti big SUV, the big top of the line one, whatever. What do you think the price tag on that thing was?
I haven't been to Costco in a while, and I certainly haven't been car shopping for a while. But I would say probably at least Infiniti is top of the line. Yes. So I would say $85,750.
Okay. It's actually higher. The sticker price was $120,000.
Get out of here.
It was $120,000. So that's probably going to be more than $700 a month. But anyways, I could not believe it. You talk about sticker shock. It was $120,000 for this. And it was clean. It was nice.
And premium gas.
Yeah, and probably premium gas, right? But this is what I want to do with you guys. Take a $700 a month car payment, and what I want you to do is transform how you think, and say to yourself, okay, for the next 7 years, if I really wanted to supercharge my wealth, right? And let's just say, I got a car that's paid for, or I got a relative that, that's got an old car that they're gonna, let me acquire, or I'm gonna go to Facebook Marketplace and I'm gonna, I'm gonna really, hustle hard, for, a few months, and I'm gonna go, pay cash for a car when I get my income tax, whatever you want to do, right? But let's just say for the next 7 years, I'm gonna I'm gonna have a cash car, and I'm not gonna buy a new vehicle for 7 years. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the $700 that I would have paid on a financing a car, and I'm gonna invest it in the ETF.
Okay.
What would that look like? Now keep in mind that $120,000 SUV that I saw.
It's probably twice.
It's probably twice that, but for the purpose of this illustration, we're going to use $700, right? But think about that SUV. So do you think that at the end of 7 years of paying for that SUV, that it's still going to be worth $120,000?
Of course not.
Of course not, because cars are a terrible depreciating asset. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think some people say that once you drive off the lot, it's going to drop about 10% in value, right? Immediately, right? So for this calculator, we're going to say $700 is our initial investment. Okay. And then we're going to do $700 a month, right? Because that's what car notes are, right? Their monthly payment, and if you don't pay it, they'll come get it, right? Mm-hmm. All right, just want everybody to know that. So for the length of time, we're going to say 7 years because they do give you that 84-month option now. All right. Okay. So for interest rate, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take QQQ. All right. I'll make sure I'm doing this right. So remember I told you guys what 86% is what it gave over a 5-year period. Well, that was a return. So you divide that by 5. So that's about 17% annual, if you average that out, right? So for our interest rate, we're going to say 17%. That's our expected return that we're looking to make with our $700 a month investment. Put it to you in those kind of terms, all right? And we're going to say annually. All right. Now, Dr. Jackie, I'm going to show you this first.
Okay. Wow.
She said, wow. And here's why she said, wow. Because if you take $700 a month and you invest it into an ETF like QQQ, which over the past 5 years has generated over an 86% return, but we're averaging that out to 17% a year. According to this financial calculator, in 7 years, you would have almost $101,000. Let that sink in, let that marinate for a minute. In 7 years, you would have an investment return of over actually 100,985. I rounded it up to 101.
Yeah, that's good.
I rounded up to 101. So think about it. So now on the other hand, you're paying $120,000 to finance a vehicle. You're paying probably $1,200-$1,300 a month for that vehicle. And then you've got financing charge, right, where, unlike this scenario, you're taking advantage of the interest rate, right? The interest rate is working for your benefit. But when you finance a car, you're paying that $120,000 in this particular scenario, in addition to 9, 12, 16, 18% interest, whatever your credit is going to get you, right? So that's in addition to the $120,000. And then we've already established that at the end of those 7 years, that vehicle is not going to be worth $120,000, right? So, but in this particular situation, where if you invest $700, now we're talking financial literacy here. We're just, and that's the purpose of this segment. We just want to change the way we think about some things. Yes, is having a nice car, a new car, is it nice? Yes, it is nice. We love that new car smell, but they got all kind of air fresheners and things that you can put in there. And I'm really under the notion now where, I will tell you guys, I have gone out and purchased cars that did not need a whole lot of work for less than $3,000. My daughter right now was driving a 2007 Toyota Camry that I paid cash for a mechanic. He had it for sale. Now I did need a new engine, but guess what? You can shop and you can do your due diligence online. I think I paid $1,400 for the car. End up having to put a new engine in it. There are some excellent mechanics out there that will. I got to take it to the dealership. There are some excellent mechanics out there that will install that engine probably for less than $1,000, and you can drive that car for 7 years and change the oil and put tires and brakes on it and save that $700 a month. And think about what you can do with $101,000. $101,000. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
$101,000 over 7 years. I mean, in some states, in some cities, you could probably pay cash for a new house, or it would at least get you a great rate with a down payment on a top of the line house. Yes. Providing that your credit and all that was in line and everything. You'll be able to do that. All right. So let me show you one more example. All right. Let's another ETF that I talk about a lot is GLD. It stands for gold, right? Gold has had a very similar return over the past 5 years. No, actually, it's done better than QQQ. Over the last 5 years, gold has had what kind of return?
Is that 175, 173%?
173.5%, right? So let's use a different example. Let's do this. So instead of, and I like to use this because people are always like, well, how do I get started? What do I got to do to even get started, right? Well, let's do this. Let's take $100. $100 is $25 a week. Can y'all find $25 a week to invest in your future? I'm serious because this is the kind of conversation you got to have when you're talking about financial literacy.
Absolutely.
You know, and to me, it's like $25 a week kind of should be like the bare minimum, right? And here's why I say that. So let's take $25 a week. That's $100 a month. All right. And at this time, let's not even do 7 years. Let's just look at 5 years. All right. And let's say we're using we'll use the gold ETF for this illustration. And what did I say that the rate of return for gold was? Was it 173?
0.5.
So 173, we'll average that out over a 5-year period. That's 34% a year. So we'll do 34% and put it back into our investor.gov calculator. And here we are, $100 a month for 5 years at a estimated interest rate, a rate of return of 34% is $12,151. That's a return of $25 a week. $25 a week is what you can do with that. All right, so using this illustration, we're talking about $100 a month, $25 a week. So if we use the illustration, and if you can even check what we got here on this screen, what you will see is that by simply just redirecting really the way that you think, right? Just redirecting the way that you think and say, okay, I'm gonna take $25 and I'm gonna invest it into an ETF for 5 years. This particular ETF, we're looking at a return of about 34% a year annually. The results are just crazy. In 5 years, you will have a return of $12,151. Okay, so think about that. We're talking about $100 a month.
$100 a month.
And in 5 years, having over $12,151. So, and I use this illustration to really show another point, right? We just went through a home buying process, with our daughter, right? I'm here to tell you that if you can commit to $100 a month, and in 5 years, I'm telling you $12,000 will cover your closing costs. The $12,000. Now, you get with a good realtor, and I do know a good realtor. You get with a good realtor, get you in one of those first-time home buyers program where most of your down payment is paid, or you get an FHA, loan where you don't have to bring as much down payment to the table. I'm telling you, a little over $12,000 will probably get you to the closing table and get your first set of keys to your first home. And again, we're talking about doing little things to accumulate wealth over your life, over your lifetime, in order to be able to, because once you start buying houses, guess what? You can tap into the equity, as we talked about earlier. You can leave a lasting legacy, generational wealth, start getting into creating a trust. Make sure, you got your assets protected and everything. Live in a house for, several years, tap some of the equity, either buy a rental property or upgrade to another property and keep the first one, right? So again, just by using financial literacy, just by redirecting the way you think, spending some time getting with a group of people that can be a resource for you, getting around some like-minded people that are going to help encourage you, edify, and basically, tell you that you can do it, because we live in a society right now where a lot of people have a defeated mindset,
So
and they think that, it's impossible. Yes, it will be impossible if you're talking about trying to do it in the next 30, 60, 90 days.
Right.
But when you create a plan, remember we were talking about those small steps earlier? If you create a plan, come up with those stepping stones, we just showed you how in 5 years you could realistically have enough money for the first down payment and closing costs on your house, providing you get with that good realtor, and you can tap that link below. So if any of y'all are ready right now to get on that journey, go ahead and go back to our website, Moving Towards Greater. Go ahead and sign up for one of those one-on-one sessions. We love to see where you are and kind of see how we can help you get to that next point.
Yes, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We were really looking to build this community, and you are a vital part of that community. And it's time for our in-person session for our Tea Time and Align.
Yes.
This will be our first one for 2026. We're doing one of two. Remember, because now we're working with MTG because we are simply better together.
Absolutely.
So we are getting the ladies together. I'm sure the fellas are going to do their thing. But next month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And for Mental Health Awareness Month, our Tea Time Online is scheduled for May the 3rd at 1:30 at the T Rich Center. And we are talking about blooming and becoming, and we are going to look to nurturing our mind in every season.
Yep.
So we are just excited about financial literacy awareness.
Absolutely.
And we're going to move towards mental health awareness. Because, hey, if your money not right, it's going to impact. You may feel a little depressed.
Absolutely. So. And I love the Tea Time and Align events. I think one of the last ones that we had last year, we started getting a lot of financial,
Yes.
type questions, and that's good. I mean, that's the exact reason why Dr. Jackie and I decided to kind of blend these two
Yes.
efforts together, because like she said, together we are better.
Yes.
And we just really enjoy being able to impart and just being able to share with you guys.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Anything
Yes.
else you want to add before we close out?
No, I've really enjoyed this, and I hope that you all can walk away with a practical strategy. And if you'd like that one-on-one consultation, feel free to reach out to us through the website, movingtowardsgreater.com, and we're more than happy to get you get together for that free consultation.
Absolutely. And we'll end like we always do. Faith is one of the tenet core reasons for moving towards greater. Because if you've got faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains, you can achieve things. All you got to do is believe. It all starts with a belief. Tonight we talked about just changing the way that you think, looking at financial literacy. So when you begin to see it in your mind, you can begin to believe it, and you can begin to execute it. So thoughts become things. You are powerful. You are great. With faith, you can do all things. So continue to be on that journey, continue to enjoy that pivot, and continue to move towards greater. We'll see you next time.